the 4% rule means, there's some studies done in the 80s. Essentially, if you can take out 4% of your retirement savings, if you will, every year, and you can adjust that for inflation every year, and you could realistically never run out of money if you take out 4%. So if you have $100,000, or let's round up, if you have $1 million in your retirement account, you could take out $40,000 a year, and your $1 million should always be intact. The question, or the what, and that's I think it's a great benchmark for people to strive for, especially as you're in the accumulation phase. Just to give you some line in the sand, just to use some quick math, if you know what you're spending today, you're saying, well, I live a $80,000 a year lifestyle, well, then I know I need to have at least 2 million to maintain that lifestyle. So it's a good benchmark to use while you're saving. Where it gets much more personal, however, is probably when you're within 5 years from retirement. Because just like your business plan, just like life, nothing is linear, nothing is that clean and neat. Things change. So the closer you get to retirement, that rule of thumb actually is less meaningful, because then you have to first answer the question, okay, Tangy, you'd like to retire. Well, what do you want to do in retirement? What does that look like to you? Again, because everybody is different. So then what you want to do is try to calculate, okay, I know how much I spend and I want to probably maintain that lifestyle, but do I have bucket list items? Healthcare, what's going to happen with healthcare, long-term care, perhaps, or do I want to save for education for my grandchildren, perhaps? So there's all these different facets that we have to try to figure out and literally put on a timeline of when that happens and what that cost would be. And again, we don't know how long you're going to live, so we want to assume that you're going to live a very long time so you don't run out of money. If you do that, if you say, okay, I know that I need $10,000 a month for the rest of my life, or that's $120,000 a year. Well, once you've established that number, then what you can do is you can say, okay, well, how am I going to pay for it? And there's 3 ways that you can pay for it. The first is social capital. And what that means is something that's coming to you in a fixed way. So the first thing is Social Security. So Social Security, which I do believe will be there, so don't worry about that. But again, that was never meant to be all of your retirement. Is meant to be perhaps a quarter of it. The average couple, the Social Security Administration spends about $50,000 a year in Social Security. So if you, again, if you have $100,000 life or $120,000 lifestyle, 50,000 is going to come from Social Security. Okay, so then I have $70,000 difference each year that we have to pay for. So then from social capital comes working capital. Now, you may not, retire is a terrible word. It sounds so final. You may continue to do part-time work, or you may do other things. So we can add that to it. But if we don't have any working capital, then it becomes just the financial capital, and that's the third bucket. And that's when we think of 401ks, 403bs, savings, Roth IRAs, whatever it might be. How much is in those accounts, and how much will those accounts grow every year? And will that be able to suffice to cover that $70,000 a year difference that Social Security didn't cover? Does that make sense?
It does, yes. Okay.
And again, that's very topical from 30,000 feet. Then there goes even much deeper. Tangy, you could be much more risk tolerant than I might be. So you could say, Brett, I'm okay with some risk. So we might be able to pull 5% or 6% a year out of your retirement, where somebody who's more might only want to do 4. So it becomes very fact dependent the closer you get to retirement. But I think the 4% rule is a very good benchmark to use for retirement. Absolutely. So that's a great question.